Mr. Panagariya, coming to you. We had a conversation before the budget. You were spot on when you spoke about the fiscal deficit coming in at 3.2%, and that's exactly what the budget number is. But on some of the other suggestions and ideas that you had recommended, your big one was the need for special employment zones or special coastal zones, as you call them. You've been pitching for that idea for a long time. I think one of the criticisms of this budget has been, does it do enough to spur the growth as far as jobs are concerned? Mohandas Pai on my show last night said, India is sitting on a demographic nightmare. Does the budget address the concerns that we have on the jobs front, where the picture continues to be alarming, jobs growth has been declining? Sir.
A lot of the elements of what I've been suggesting through the coastal economic zones idea or coastal employment zones idea are sort of there. I think, and coastal employment zones idea will continue to travel on its own.
You're not giving up your battle yet?
No. That's still on. But let me tell you actually on the jobs front what the budget does. You really have to read it and put it all together. So about a few months ago, there was a package announced for textiles industry, to which the response has been extremely good. Same package has now been extended to the footwear industry. Then,
on textiles, sir, if I could intervene and interrupt and ask you, it was a 6,000 crore rupee package that was announced for the textile industry. How many jobs have we been able to create as a result of that?
Well, the numbers are still to come. So the employment figures in India are not terribly good, and the big survey that happens once in 5 years hasn't happened since 11-12. So, when people say actually that, jobs have been created or not created, not quite sure exactly where their numbers are coming from. But all I can say is that, basically my impressions are also based on the performance of the industry and both on the domestic output and exports. So certainly good response there. Footwear industry, so I mentioned. Electronics industry, there have been incentives in the budget. Then you got the 5% reduction in the small and medium firms with the turnover less than 50 crores. Mudra loans doubled.
Yeah.
And labor law reforms have come back on the
They've just come back on the table, so that doesn't necessarily mean that we move the needle as far as labor reforms are concerned. I mean, we've been discussing the need for labor reforms for how many years? The fact that it's mentioned in the budget speech is certainly positive, but it doesn't give us some sense of when we will finally move towards that.
Look, this government has been in place only for 2.5 years. So if we are talking for years, I can't really defend the other governments.
But do you feel confident? Do you feel confident that the legislative changes on labor reforms will be taken forward in the next financial year?
Well, I mean, if the finance minister has put it in the budget, there is certainly an intent to do that.
Okay.
And the codes, by the way, the 4 codes that the budget mentions have been in the works. So it's not as if no homework has been done.
Okay.
The very fact that he mentioned there are 4 codes, and I know personally that these codes have been in the works. So perhaps the government now sees that in the Rajya Sabha, perhaps composition would change, and by the time the legislations actually come to the floor, maybe the support would actually be better.
Okay.